Welcome to Season 2 of the Kind Your Way podcast. I'm Kathleen O'Hagan, digital content strategist and writer at Serenia Life, and your host. I'm also a married mom with a mortgage. Try saying that 5 times fast. Navigating the same financial ups and downs as many Canadians today. Did I mention I'm also a life insurance convert?
Yes!
So if you've ever wondered how life insurance fits into your financial plan or why someone would buy it for a child, you're in the right place. And if you've never wondered these things, even better. I'm here to share some insider tricks and tips that may give you a change of perspective. Let's do this. Hello, fellow Canadians. I have an important question for you. What do you think of when you hear the name David Suzuki? I think scientist, environmentalist, and climate activist who is still going strong after celebrating his 90th birthday last month. But while I'm sure he's had a lot of fancy titles throughout his lifetime, he's also a husband, a dad, and a grandfather, a regular human being, just like me and you. I was lucky enough to see David and his wife, Tara, speak quite recently at a performance called What You Won't Do for Love. Described as an intimate theater experience that asks whether the love we have for each other can inspire us to take action for the planet, it was truly life-changing to hear what they had to say. And believe me, I'm underselling it. David Suzuki and Tara Cullis are environmental activists and I think visionaries. I was blown away by everything they fought so hard to achieve over the decades, and at the same time, kind of devastated to learn that some of their most important gains have since been undone. Since that night, I honestly can't stop thinking about them and the message they are trying so hard to convey to Canadians and the world. And since April is Earth Month and Earth Day is just a couple of weeks away, I wanted to share those thoughts with you. Now, if you're wondering how this is relevant to a podcast about financial planning and life insurance, I promise it is. Just stick with me and everything will come together. But first, I want to start by telling you about a very personal moment David Suzuki shared with the audience. Just to give a little bit of background first, we are talking about the man who might just have the most insight into climate change and how it will impact the world we are leaving behind for the next generation. So I'm paraphrasing now, but he told us that on one particular day, he was holding his new twin grandbabies in his arms, and as he took in their beautiful faces, he was so overcome by emotion that he suddenly burst into tears. And these weren't just tears that were silently running down his face. He was literally crying, loud enough that family members came running into the room to see if he was okay. While nothing was physically wrong with him, he wasn't even close to okay. If I'm remembering correctly, he was filled with guilt or shame or sadness, or maybe all three, as he thought about what sort of future the innocent little babes in his arms would be met with. What the audience learned that night, with very heavy hearts, was that even though he, his wife, and the organization they founded had done everything they could to raise awareness and raise the alarm throughout their many decades of activism, in the end, they hadn't really succeeded. I mean, sure, they had achieved small victories here and there, but the war, as he called it, is far from being won. And with so many nations turning their backs on those green promises made as far back as the 80s, it can all feel a little bit hopeless sometimes. But the more I think about what he has been screaming from the rooftops for far too long, the more it occurs to me that this is directly linked with what we talk about almost every day here at Serenia Life, planning for our children's future. Because as we parents work so hard to set our kids up for success by providing them with a loving, supportive household, by creating a financial foundation for them, whether that be investing in RESPs, starting their own savings account, or purchasing child life insurance with an investment component, we also need to make sure we are leaving them with a healthy, livable earth. In my opinion, the health of our planet needs to be as big a priority as the health of our investments. Would it be too airy-fairy for me to say, as we love and nurture our children, let's do the same for our planet? Because if you think about what a good parent does, it really comes down to the everyday stuff, to all the little things that add up. Keeping things clean and safe, making sure there's enough to go around, setting boundaries, making plans, and teaching kindness and respect. Nurturing the earth can look a lot like that too. It's choosing habits that protect this home called planet Earth our kids are growing up in, even when it's not the easiest option. Not out of guilt, but out of love. And just like with parenting, you don't have to be perfect to make a difference. You just have to be committed and consistent. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the things you can do to live a more eco-friendly life. Our generation is inundated with this kind of info, and sometimes it can feel almost paralyzing. I guess I just want to ask you to start thinking about the future of our planet in a different way. Well, actually, in the same way you think about financial planning for your kids, that they're both critical to our children's long, healthy, and happy lives. And once you start looking at it that way, future focused, kid focused, it can open up some really interesting conversations we don't usually have. Do you know where I'm going with this? Well, this is where my brain went next. End of life planning. Why? Well, because even that can be done in a way that's gentler on the planet. I'm actually going to ask my mom about this when we have the talk, not about the birds and the bees, but about end of life planning in the next episode. Stay tuned, it could get pretty awkward. But while it might not be as common knowledge as turning the water off while you brush your teeth or making an effort to avoid single-use plastics, there are actually some pretty unique eco-friendly funeral options these days. This was something I personally wasn't aware of until a few years ago, but there are some really great choices that don't harm the environment the way some of the more traditional options do. And my favorite part, the idea that we can become one with the earth after our death. It's all thanks to that lovely circle of life concept. I know it would make me feel good knowing that my body was helping sustain the ecosystem rather than contributing to its harms. If this sounds interesting to you, I've actually linked to an article that talks about eco-friendly end-of-life planning at the bottom of this episode's description. I've also linked to the David Suzuki Foundation, as well as another green organization I'm about to share with you. All right, now it's that time in the episode where I sprinkle a little bit of kindness in. In case you hadn't guessed already, this one's about being kind to our earth. Here goes. Beginning last year, Serenia Life has started an Earth Day tradition of planting 12 hero trees through a Canadian organization, Trees for Life, in honor of Serenia Life members who passed away in the previous year. 12 trees for 12 months. And keep in mind, these aren't tiny little seedlings. These are big trees with big roots, which means they have a much higher success rate. Here's how the website describes them. Hardy native trees, typically 1.5 meters and several years old, standing tall for generations to come, helping to mitigate climate change by cooling the streets and filtering the air, controlling rainwater, and providing habitat for wildlife. End quote. I'm really glad I work for an organization that does this because it's not only kind, it's necessary. Don't believe me? Ask David Suzuki. All right, if you have a moment of kindness you'd like to share, or even ideas on how we can be kinder to our earth, share your thoughts in the comments. As usual, I would love to hear about it. See you next time. This episode was written and hosted by me, Kathleen O'Hagan. Video and audio edits by Teresa Moscardo. And sponsored by Serenia Life Financial, the kinder way to do life insurance.